Hello everybody, Michael Fudge here again. It's time for another lab walkthrough. This time we're going to do lesson 6 on strings. Alright, let's look at 1.1. In the 1.1 U code, we are tasked with splitting the string New Hampshire into two substrings, one New and the other Hampshire. Okay, so let's start out, well, I don't know, call it state. State, New Hampshire. And the proper thing to do would be to put each of these in their own variable. So let's do part 1 and part 2. Those are good names. So now how can I use the string slice to only get new? This is the challenge. We want to use string slices. So it would be state, start at 0, and then how many do I want to take? 1, 0, 1, 2. But I want to include 2, so I need to go to 3? Or 2, 3, right? So if I say 0, 3, it's going to take this slice, but not include 3. So it'll be just NEW. And then part 2 should be state. I could just say 3 to the end like this. I could also say from the beginning to 3. And then I could say from 3 to the end. But let me just go 0, 3. And then 3 to the end. And then let's print just to see if it works. Part 1, part 2. And I get New and Hampshire. And you can see there's an extra space in there. And that's because when I start at 3, I'm grabbing another space with the H. So I'm going to start at 4. If I start at 4, I skip the space. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. The H is the start at 4. And then I get New Hampshire. And just to show you that there really is a space there and it's not in the string, I can just do this. Let me make end equals, I don't know, a question mark. Oh, that's only going to do it at the end. I need to do, I forgot, so let me use help. Help, print. This is where help is so useful. It's sep. That's what I wanted to use. Sep, not end. See that? New is one string. My separator is a question mark. And then the second string is Hampshire. The default separator is a space. Okay, that's 1.1. Okay, let's take a look at 1.2. 1.2 says try to use the count function to count the number of I's in the string Mississippi. Now, I can certainly do this without the count function. I can do it myself. There's one I there, there's another I there, there's another I there. There's 4 I's. But making Python to do it is the point of the exercise. So the best way to go about doing this is first learn about the count function. So that's what this help command does. If you say help stir count, it will bring up help on count. And you'll see it says count. And then in there is some arguments. And the arguments are sub, start, and end. And it returns an int. And it has an S in front because it is a method function. So it should be something like this. State dot count. That's the proper way to do it. S.count. It's a method function. And it says, we'll return the number of non-overlapping occurrences of substring sub. Substring sub. So what is it I'm looking for? I'm looking for the I. That's my substring. In string start end. So if I can leave start and end out because they're in square brackets. The square brackets means that in the grammar, the programming grammar, they're optional. But I could put a start and end in here. I could put in a start of 0 and an end of, I don't know, 10 or whatever, right? But I'm going to leave those out. And I'm just going to do that. And it gives me 4 for the count of I's. Don't believe me? Let's count something else. Let's count some P's. There's how many P's are there? There's 2 P's, right? 1, 2. You can also count substrings. They don't have to be letters. I-S. How many is's are there? There's one is here. And there's another is there. And that's it. There's 2 is's. Okay. How many s's are there? 4. Okay, so that is using count. The point of 1.2 was to just get you familiar with how you can use the help function to help yourself, because you can't know all of the functions. The goal is not to know them all. The goal is to know how to find them and then understand how to use them, not memorize every single function that's out there. All right, let's look at 1.3. In 1.3, we are asked to not write our own function, but instead use the dir and help functions to figure out which function we can use to accomplish the following task. The task is looking for is in some text, in any text. And there's some examples. When the text is Mississippi, then the position is 1 because the first is right here. When the text is this is a great burger, the position is 2 because the first is right here. When the text is burger, the position is -1 because there's no is in burger. Just like there's no I in team. So this workspace is used to use dir and help. Again, dir will tell me all the functions available to a string. And again, these functions here are internal, and you can pretty much ignore those. Those are not what we're interested in. And you can see the functions like this, like capitalize, casefold. One of these is what we want to use. Index, find, format. So you might not know which one it is. This is where you might use help. So let's try help stir find. Help stir find. And then you get help. It says find. I want to do index first. Help stir index. Returns the lowest index of S where substring is found. Raise value error when not found. There's also find, which does a similar thing but returns -1 on failure, and that's what we wanted here, -1 on failure. So, figuring out which function to use is part of the challenge, right? You've got, it's like Old Country Buffet of functions, and you have to pick out which one is going to be, the egg salad sandwich. That's just the way it works. And once you find what you're looking for, then you get help so that you understand how to use it. And then you might want to try it. So let's try, Mike find, and let's try to find the, I don't know, K. And it says 2. Okay, there's a lot going on here with this dir and help. Let me comment these out. Okay, Mike find the K. That's position 2. 0, 0, 1, 2. All right, let's try to find the W in Mike. Whoops, son of a gun. You hit one wrong key, and there you go. Let's try and find the W. I get -1 because that's not found. Okay, do you think we can write the code now? I think we're ready to write the code. So we're going to input some text, and then we're going to try to find the position in the text. So position is text find. The what we're looking for is. And then let's print. Always use an F string because we're cool. The first position of is in text is at position. There. Enter some text. All right, here we go. Cheese is good. The first position of is in cheese is good is at position 7. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, let's try it again. Some text. This. The first position of is in this is at position 2. Okay, let's try another one. Enter some text. The first position of is in is at position -1, meaning it's not found. Okay? That's 1.3. Okay, down here in 1.4, we're tasked with writing our own function called isURL. And that function will return true when the input text is a URL, and it will return false when it is not. And how do we know that it's a URL? It starts with one of these two things. If it starts with one of those two things, we're going to assume it's a URL. Okay. Whenever you write a user-defined function, you should always use the write refactor test rewrite method. Why? Because you can put all the code you want down here, but how the hell are you going to know if it's right? You're just spinning wheels, wasting time. So write some code that works, then use the code in a function, then test your function. And I wrote the tests down here. So if you look at the tests, this one, is that a URL? Yeah. Is, that should be HTTPS. Is that a URL? Yes. Is this one a URL? No. Okay. So let's think about how to write this. So let's suppose our text is this. First of all, you can't solve a problem you don't understand. So, is this a URL? Yes. How do I know it's a URL? It starts with this. So, can I express that in code now? All right, let's do this. Text starts with, says use the string method starts with. I don't know how to use this. Help. Okay, starts with. It needs a prefix. Returns true if S starts with the prefix. All right. Text, print, text starts with HTTPS. Because I got the def in here, right? So let me actually take all this, and I'll put it in a whole nother cell here. All right, I got an error. I'm missing a parenthesis. So, yeah, that text starts with HTTPS. Now, if I just try HTTP, it doesn't work. So I need an if or something, right? I need to do something like if the text starts with that, right? Then I'm going to print true. I'm just kind of spitballing here. Elif the text starts with just regular old HTTP. There's about 100 ways you can write this program. Print true, and then anything else, we're going to print false. And I forgot a colon right there, and a colon right there. False. Oh, this one should be HTTP, right? There, true. So HTTPS, that's a URL. HTTP, that's a URL. If I just leave this out and do Google, that's not a URL, so that's false. All right. So I tested it. That's the right. Now we refactor it. Refactoring means to take the same code and make it work again. Okay, make it work again, but in a different context. So the context now is the input is going to be text and the output is going to be returning true or false. So can I rewrite this to do that? Well, it's pretty simple, right? It's going to be if text starts with HTTPS, I'm going to return true. Elif text starts with HTTP, I'm going to return true. Else I'm going to return false. That's refactoring. I took the same code and I'm using it in a different context. Okay. Let's see if it passes my tests. That should be true, and it is. That should be true, and it is. This should be false, and it is false. Okay, so that's writing, refactoring, and testing. Rewriting would be taking this exact same program here, if I may. I know we're done with 1.4, but it might as well turn it into a lesson, right? A rewrite is now taking the original program, right, and using the function. That would be a rewrite. So the original program might be text, input, enter URL, and then you would call the function and say, I don't know, let's just say if is URL text print. That's a URL. Else print. That's not a URL. Enter URL, google.com. Oop. What did I call it? Is URL lowercase. See? When you get a name error, it means that if you were to dir the global namespace, you would not find. See that? Is URL. See that? Is URL. They're different. That one has a capital U in it. It's not in the global namespace. That's why I'm getting a name error. Let me take that out. All right, let's try it now. Enter URL, google.com. That is not a URL. Enter HTTPS, google.com. That is a URL. Okay, there you go. So that is 1.4. Okay, I kind of went overboard with that, but it is important to note that whenever you write your own function, what you can't do is just slap logic in here. It's too abstract. You're not there yet. You have to learn how to take the original problem, write it, and then rewrite it as a function. Until you get better at this, that's the proper way that you should go about writing functions. Okay, in 1.5, we're tasked with putting it all together using an algorithm that I give you to take a series of text and extract all of the URLs from that text. Okay? So here's an example. It says, Twitter and Facebook are social media sites, but the SU website is not. So the three URLs that extracted from here were twitter.com, facebook.com, and Siri2U. See that? It's extracted three URLs. So you might be wondering, well, how do I go about doing this? Well, that's why I give you an algorithm, because you might, the hardest part about this problem is figuring out an approach. Once you have an approach, writing the code is trivial. This is why when you're in your homework, we try to get you in the habit of writing the algorithm so that you can practice the approach. Many of you will fiddle with this in Python until you have an idea of what the approach is. But then you should still write the approach as an algorithm. Okay? Again, it's all about the practice. So I went through and I did that for you. It says input the text, split the text into tokens. For each word in words, if the word is URL, print a word. All right. So this brings to mind when you are writing a program that has a user-defined function in it. Where do the user-defined functions go? I already wrote is URL. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to copy that and put it right here because I already wrote it. Okay. And I need it. Now it's in the other cell, but I want to make sure this all runs, right? All right, so I got that. Now I got to think about this algorithm. It says input the text. So I'm going to say text, input some text. Looks grand. And then it says split the text into tokens on space. Let's call these words. So I'm going to say words, and then I don't know how to split text. So I know it's a string function because it says right up here. So let's do that. Let's do dir stir and I think there's split in here. Split. And then let's go back up and do help, stir, split. And we get split, self, separator, none. So separator is the delimiter. So this is where you have to know concepts. Like we talked about these in large groups. A delimiter is a symbol. It's a text symbol that is used to break up a larger thing into smaller things. And the smaller things are usually called tokens. Okay. In this case, our token is going to be words because in the English language, when you say things like, I like cheese, I like cheese, the space is what separates the words, right? So the space is the separator, and the words I like and cheese end up being the tokens, right? Okay. So we're going to say words equals text split, and we're going to split them on a space. And let's see what we get. Print words. And put some text. This is a test. And you see I get individual words in a list of words. And because it's in a list, I can now iterate over it with a for loop. So I can say, for word in words. What is word? Word is one of the words, right? It's this word on the first time through the loop. It's this word on the second time through the loop. It's this word on the third time through the loop. And it's this word on the fourth time through the loop. So what am I going to do with these words? If the word is a URL, print the word. So if is URL word, print word. Okay. Enter some text. None of those are URLs. Let's do another one. I visit often instead of SiriDU. So the URLs there are google.com and SiriDU. Again, how is it working? Well, it's working because we are using other functions. And basically, we are taking the text and splitting it on spaces. And then we're going over each of the items that are in that list of text split on spaces. And we are checking to see if they're a URL. And then we're printing them out if they are. If you don't like word in words, you can say things split on spaces. And then you could say for thing in things split on spaces. And then down here you can say if is URL thing, print thing. I don't know, maybe that sits better with you. It's the same code. I like HTTPS. Let's do HTTP google.com for stock. It grabs the one URL out of there. Okay. Same code. Okay, that is 1.5 Ucode. And I implemented it from this algorithm up here. That's it for this week's lab walkthrough. All right, have a nice day. Bye now.